I'm now going to introduce to you Nerissa Kilvert, who is the South Australian Small Business Commissioner. Nerissa's been the Small Business Commissioner since 2021, and for those of you that don't know, the role of the Small Business Commissioner under the Small Business Commissioner Act includes facilitating complaint resolution, alternative dispute resolution for business disputes, and providing information to small businesses and advocating on their behalf. Nerissa brings significant leadership experience and management expertise. She's headed up regulatory services in the Consumer and Business Services in the Attorney General's Department. She's worked with ministers, senior officials, government agencies, local councils and a diverse range of other stakeholders, including representatives of hospitality, building, tenancy, retail, legal and not-for-profit sectors. We have another lawyer in the room. Nerissa's got a Bachelor of Laws and Legal Practice. She is admitted to practice as a solicitor and barrister in the Supreme Court of South Australia and the High Court of Australia, and has a Bachelor of Behavioural Science and a Diploma in Project Management. She's worked as a solicitor in the Crown Solicitor's Office and in private practice, as well as with the Office of Liquor and Gambling Commission. Nerissa's going to talk to us today about the role of the Small Business Commissioner in South Australia, and I think it's a terrific kind of complementary presentation to all that you've heard. So please join me in welcoming Nerissa Kilvert.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Troy. Talk about drawing the short straw. I think the speakers you've been lucky enough to have up here already this morning have set a pretty high standard. So whenever I see that I'm speaking at an engagement, particularly with Bruce, and I'm following Bruce, I think, shit, I've got to figure that out so that I don't have to follow what is always a very entertaining, informative and engaging presentation. So I am really pleased to be here today, so thank you for having me. What I hope to be able to do in my presentation is, I guess, provide the overlay of what the role of my office is. So it's added to the melting pot in terms of those considerations which you've all got floating around from the discussions you've already had around what the current state is, but also what a possible way forward is. So hopefully, again, with that broader understanding of the support and services that my office provides, that can be added as one of those important considerations. Just to kick off, I always like to ask, has anyone had dealings with our office, the Office of the Small Business Commissioner? Brilliant. That's why I invite him as well. A few in the room? Yeah, not too many. So it's always a nice little litmus test to give me a sense of who's had engagement with our office and what that kind of general understanding is around what we can do to support you. We'll touch on a few of the aspects today, and some of them in more detail than others, but we hear it time and time again, small businesses, of which you all are representing, are really the lifeblood of our communities, not only in terms of the economic contribution that you make, but even more importantly, it's that social fabric that you are there to connect with and to build those communities. So in South Australia, in recognition of that really valuable contribution that small businesses make to the state, the government set up our office. So the legislation that provides, I guess, that framework for the support that we provide came into effect in 2011, and since then we've been around to very much, as it says up there, we see our role as being very much to support, champion and celebrate small businesses. So what does that look like? That support that we offer, it looks and feels quite different in many ways, but part of the big role in that support area is what we do in that dispute resolution space. And Bruce spoke about the support that Espefio provide around the matters at a Commonwealth level. We have a similar role that we play, and hopefully as I tease out some of, with some more examples, you'll see that while it's similar, there are points of difference. And if something lands in Bruce's patch, which is a cross-border issue that might be more appropriate to land with us, we have those really warm referral pathways so that you as a business owner or farmer or grower, it's a seamless service that you get from us, no matter what door you actually walk through to begin with. Again, champion, fundamental to our role. We are there to level out if there are any power imbalances at play. We're there to make sure that the operating environment in which you operate your business in is one that sets you up for success, is free of as many unnecessary regulatory barriers as what we can. So we really rely on hearing from you what some of those obstacles are, challenges are, so that we can then do what we can to amplify those to policymakers and decision makers and try and influence some change. And again, celebrate, it's a no-brainer. We respect and value that contribution that you make. So our very existence is there to any opportunity we get to provide that assistance and support, but also celebrating your wins as well. Just touching a little bit more on this support aspect, and I wanted to touch in more detail on this dispute resolution function because it's particularly relevant and pertinent to today's discussions. In terms of the types of business disputes that we can help with, it's really wide and varied. So we offer this dispute resolution support that can mean many different things to many different people. So hopefully I can talk you through exactly what that looks like when we provide that. But we provide that assistance for any disputes that fall within South Australia that are between two business owners or a business and government. And that can be state or your local council area or state government. The word dispute, again, can mean many things to many people. We intentionally don't define it. It can be a disagreement that you're having with another business owner. It can be a full-blown dispute that has been ongoing for many years and generates a lot of emotion and a whole other complex array of issues. But as long as it's between two business owners, it's something that we're able to help with. It's what we see as our role in terms of helping you navigate that environment is really to try and save you that stress, time and money. When you're in dispute, when you're in disagreement, it's a really stressful environment. It not only it can affect your bottom line in terms of that continuity of cash flow, but it's that mental load which you've got to carry day in, day out when you've got that uncertainty and that niggling issue which is just wearing on your shoulders. We are we know and understand far too well that there are never enough hours in a day as a small business owner, and often it's these kind of disputes or disagreements that are the ones that are keeping you up at night. They're keeping you up because of the worry. They're also keeping you up at night because at 1 o'clock in the morning is often the only times you get to actually sit there at your computer and pen an email to somebody who's owing you money or has got a late payment on an invoice, or that you're grappling with a contractual issue or a leasing matter. So we see our role as wanting to take some of that burden and stress off of your shoulders, and we are there to help you do that and guide you through that and support that process all towards reaching an outcome and having that certainty and clarity going forward. The saving the time, again, it saves you time in terms of you not having to do it, but it also allows you to not focus on resolving that issue. It allows you to concentrate on doing what you should be doing, and that's focusing on running your business and being within your business. And saving you money in the same way. Your time is money, and it's better served with you working in your business and on your business rather than trying to navigate a dispute all on your own. And by going through our office to get that support, it's an alternative to going down that court pathway, which completely contradicts everything up here in terms of it is stressful. It does take a lot of time and it does cost a lot of money. So we see it as an alternative pathway where you can get a resolution, that certainty and clarity going forward, but also in a way that you feel supported. So touching on a bit more around the types of disputes. Again, it's really varied. The number of matters that we see come through our door, we never see ones that are exactly like for like. There is no one size fits all, and there's no definition of what we can and can't help with. But some of the ones that are particularly probably relevant to today's discussion and group, I've sort of listed there. So we do see a lot of issues around payment disputes. Very relevant conversation point today. It can be late payment, it can be non-payment, it can be disputes around the contractual terms relating to payment. So that's certainly a space that we deal with a lot, and we see a lot of people come through our door seeking our support to resolve matters in that space. It can be that goods haven't been supplied to on time, to standard, or to the quality that you would reasonably expect. Contractual disputes, again, a very relevant discussion point in the room today. We are able to assist when there are those challenges and those discrepancies that you're having around contractual matters. We do a lot in the farm space, particularly around warranty issues as well with farm-related machinery and equipment, and I've already addressed the non-payment of accounts. So they're just some pretty pictures up there. We are certainly not limited in terms of the scope, or they're the only types of matters that we can assist with. But again, some of those really relevant ones to those that we're talking about today. In terms of how we help, we have a team within the office who are expert advisors. So when you pick up the phone, you can contact us through a range of means, but one of them is by picking up the phone. When you get somebody on the line, that person you are speaking to is an expert advisor who will have carriage of your matter for 98% of the time from that moment forward. It's a very few limited amounts of time where that person might pass on that matter to one other member of the team. But generally speaking, that person who is your initial touch point maintains carriage of your matter. And what we do is we try and get a really good understanding around what the details of the dispute are through your eyes, through your story. We then act as that intermediary between you and the other party. So we'll seek your permission to reach out to them and again, have a conversation, understand the situation from their perspective, try and narrow the scope of the dispute so that we can really keep those ongoing discussions really targeted and solutions focused and forward focused. We remain completely impartial and bipartisan in all of those discussions, and it's a really important point to make. A little bit like what Bruce touched on earlier, when you engage support from our office and you seek our support down this dispute resolution pathway, we're not there to weigh in on the legal merits of a particular matter. We're not there to pass judgment as to who is in the right or the wrong from a legal perspective. What we see our role as is we're there to assist you in problem solve really creatively, but through very much a small business lens, which is cognizant of the fact that those relationships that you have with the person who you might be having a disagreement with are really important often to the ongoing viability of your business. So we want to make sure that not only a solution is reached, it's done so in a way that restores and continues that business arrangement going forward, or that business relationship going forward. So yes, we don't. We're not going to be there to arbitrate a decision. We're not going to be there to make a decisive outcome for you, but certainly there to support you in finding a way forward, having clarity, having closure, and a matter resolved that's not going to continue to keep you up at night. These expert advisors that we have, they will be your touch point from the beginning of the journey, and they will again engage in this back and forward conversation through phone calls, emails, getting people in the room, whatever it takes. And a very, very high number of our numbers get resolved in those early stages by just taking some of that emotion out of those conversations and allowing that different engagement of conversation. Where there are particular matters which can be more complex, or that can be assessed by our team as benefiting from having an accredited mediator actually conduct a more formal mediation, and I'll touch on that in a little bit more detail shortly. But what I wanted to do is we've had just very recently the opportunity to sit down with a couple of the small business owners who we've provided that assistance to, and they've been very generous in allowing us to share their stories as part of a very short video. So I'll hopefully play it. You never quite know with technology, but I have the thumbs up from the back corner there in the room. And again, the whole idea of this is to allow you to actually have a sense of what it feels like and what it looks like to have that support of our team when you're faced in one of these particular issues. So again, the value of actually hearing from peers who have actually engaged in our service, hopefully, again, paints a bit more of a clearer picture about the benefits and the value that they've received from having a chat with us, really. So all those stories that you heard there were all resolved just through engaging with one of our advisors in the team. I touched on just a moment ago, we do have a panel of mediators which we go through a process every 3 or so years, and we onboard them for matters that are sometimes particularly complex. They might relate to, they might benefit from having some understanding and experience in a particular industry or sector. So we onboard a panel. We have some who are experts in farming, some who are experts in mining, others in the building construction industry or motor vehicle. And we can call upon them when there's benefit, sometimes when there's lots of parties involved, or where we just see that having a conversation in a room around a table with somebody who's expertly trained to guide that is of benefit. And mediations that we run through our office, they're heavily subsidised from our team. They can last anywhere from an hour through to a full day, and sometimes they spill over. But generally speaking, it's a set amount of $195 to have that matter all wrapped up and dealt with an expert who can actually guide that conversation. And you walk away from that often, majority of the time, with a written agreement which is then enforceable. So you enter the door in the morning, you engage in that conversation, which is all again designed to maintain the relationship going forward, and you walk out the door with that certainty and that sense of closure. So it's something that we're really proud to be able to offer, and really proud of the results that we get for those like you in the room. I do have, at risk of doing too many videos, another really short one, which we actually have one of our mediators talked on camera again about that process and about the value that he sees in it, which is again another one we'd just like to be able to share. We like to describe our mediations as having an ability to get around the table with all parties to a disagreement or dispute, and have an expert facilitate and guide the conversation.
Ideally, mediation is a process that brings people to the table to discuss, what has caused the dispute. I'm not there as a mediator to advocate for one or other position. I'm not there to provide legal advice, and I'm not there to impose an outcome on the parties. It's really an opportunity for me to help the parties and work with the parties to have a difficult conversation, and also to work together to see if we can't come up with an outcome that they can both live with. I am not an employee of the Commissioner's Office. I'm entirely independent and impartial.
We've got a lot of flexibility in how we conduct mediations here at SBC, and we really try and tailor that to work best for both of the parties involved. If there are businesses that are situated in regional areas, we've got the ability to conduct mediations online, and we have a mediator that shuttles back between the two parties in an online forum.
So there is a process. One thing that I always say is every matter requires different consideration and perhaps a different approach. So I always commence mediations with parties separately and in private session to ensure, one, they're comfortable, they understand the process, and then those private discussions that I have with the parties separately will inform the process that I recommend. And seeing parties resolve their matters is so rewarding for me, particularly given where I have seen the alternative and the impact that ongoing conflict and legal disputes have. And for those who haven't experienced it, it's very difficult to explain, but having seen it myself as a lawyer for the best part of 20 years, I know when parties resolve their disputes, it's in their best interests.
We're really aware that when you come to us with an issue, it's often something that's been a long-standing issue for you as a business owner. We're there to make sure that we fast track as best as we can getting a resolution for you to get you back to business. So I guess the context and the intent behind sharing this information and those stories with you today, in light of today's discussion and your considerations that you're undertaking as a collective now, is to make sure you've got a good understanding of what the support and assistance is that we can currently provide, not only in terms of matters that you might have in real time that you're experiencing now, and you're, I guess, having that understanding that you can reach out to us for support, but also, as I said earlier, to add to that melting pot when you're considering what it looks like going forward, and all the discussions around the various models of different codes and the benefits and advantages of each, and indeed the disadvantages of some, is, I guess, considering whether the provision of this kind of support and service is one that you want to make sure is inclusive and included in that model going forward, or one that you don't think is quite the right fit. So it's about sharing that information so you can have that informed view about what that model looks like going forward that you think is right for your particular sector. I also want to touch on just quickly, which is one of the other reasons why I'm really grateful to be part of the discussions today, is another aspect of the role and the service and support that we provide as an office is in this advocacy space. And again, it is one that Bruce spoke of at the Commonwealth level that he and his team do so well. And we sort of take on the flag at a state-based level as well. So what this looks like as well is it's around making sure, again, that those operating conditions within which you operate are really tailored to set you up for success. It might be that you're experiencing a broader systemic issue as a sector which you want escalated and raised and amplified to government. It might be that you're experiencing as an individual business owner difficulty engaging with a government department. It might be that you've got an application with a particular government department and you're not getting that engagement, or you're not able to actually speak to somebody who can get momentum behind your matter and actually get it progressed. It can be, again, however big or small, we're there to try and gain that momentum, to try and open doors, to have those conversations, to try and amplify and escalate views to policymakers and decision makers on your behalf, all in the interests of making sure that you're set up for success with an operating environment that is conducive to that as well. We often do that where there is a power imbalance, and if we are there as your advocate to support you and have your voice heard, we see that as a really important role that we play as well. Importantly, similar to Bruce and his team, while we need to work collaboratively and constructively with government, we can't achieve or influence good outcomes without having good relationships with government. We actually do sit separately and are distinct. So the role of the Small Business Commissioner is a statutory authority. What that means, without all of the blabber, is that we're here to serve and to reflect the best interests of small businesses. We're not here to necessarily share the view of government if it's at odds to that. And it allows us that ability to put matters forward which are differing in views, and to build business cases and make recommendations for change and for reform and for policy reconsideration where it isn't there in the best interests of all of you in the room. And in terms of how we go about doing that, it's informed by sessions like today. It's being part of those conversations with you, having that trust that you then afford to us in sharing your stories, in telling us those challenges that you're experiencing, in engaging in those conversations and allowing us to be part of it. It's only through that engagement and having those conversations that we can become aware of what those issues are. And so the benefit that we've had today, myself and my team being in the room, is not only to share the support that we can provide and make sure that that's part of those considerations that are in that the mix of what you're having to navigate and settle upon yourselves, but it's also that the benefit we've achieved from actually hearing some of those challenges you're experiencing and saying, okay, what angle can we take to actually provide some assistance? Is there an option that you might settle on which requires a reconsideration of government policy position? That's the kind of thing that we can actually help with. So it's not just the service that we provide, but it's also part of that service is amplifying those views for you, is doing the research, is doing the business case that can actually give effect to that change and create that influence. So it's part of that, I guess, very many mixed and diverse amount of considerations that you've got around the table that hopefully you can take away today to think, all right, well, we could actually get that assistance from the SBC team, and that we're only a phone call away and you know how to connect with us. And that's all I had for today. But I'm happy to take questions from the room or provide any further information about particular aspects.
Before you do, I'm going to ask everyone to give you a big round of applause. Nerissa Kilvert, please.